Hi, AM here, and today we're gonna look at all 10 bionicle years, from my least favorite to my most favorite, course being G1. I know that Arcos, Marcos guy did one, but apparently no one else has. No either way. At number 10 we have 2010. Reason why this is my least favorite course being a course, and definitely not a surprise to anyone. Even though this is all just my personal opinion, and if you don't like how I rated them, then you can make your own course. Course for being the course, like how had to be like the last year bionicle G1. Like how it ended with just 6 cents being the stars, of course, with the Amateur / Shigori build. Even though I don't have a problem with that build. Even though it was such a disappointment. And then shortly after it was cancelled, up came Hero Factory, even though I myself never really, honestly, never really had a problem with Hero Factory, despite many Bionicle fans hating it or despising it. And of course, there were the online blogs with where it narrates Manui's story from, especially from how it began when he was created by the Great Beings and started off as a giant 7,500 mile tall robot. Or in that case, a robot, when placed on the map of our planet, larger than both Africa and Europe combined. And also, when looking back on it, of course, and it said how all the Matoran he ignored for so long. It turned out how he truly didn't seem to have any concern or even respect for all the Matoran or Toa, and even the brother of Makuna, and the Borak even, and Barak, and everyone else who was living inside him. That was pretty much kept him going. Yeah, like I mean, so yeah, no doubt he was kind of a jerk. And also, and the books, 2 books, which I have, which I don't have, and I only have a couple of the stars being Rakshi and Stars Tahu. Yeah, and I guess many others were kind of disappointed, like how they could have been bigger, like how they had an Anika building or Paraka build, which had been used for like 3 years at that point, up into this. Though at least it did end it with a conclusion, unlike most other Lego themes. Now, and also at the end of the online blogs where it's Tao saying, "We will fight for Manui in our memories." But for many of us, it's yet to be written, or his destiny has been fulfilled. Or probably actually before, for many of us, is yet to be written. But the time has come to move on, my friends. It is time to go. And every time when I look back on it, it makes me want to cry like a little baby every single time and wish that bionicle was never canceled in the first place. Alright, moving on to number 9, 2007. What? Even slightly lower than Arcos Marcos? Out, as you would be watching. Well, anyone who's as much of a Bionicle fan, or even more so than I am, be like, what? It's only at number 9? Outrageous. But don't get me wrong. It's just a certain feeling for some reason. Back when I was a kid, when I even watched those two many clips or commercials was for the Meraki and the Toamari. Now when I look back on, they turned out to be, don't get me wrong, they were actually pretty awesome. Just as a kid, like, oh my god. Especially with the Baraki. Yeah, and they, of course, had kind of the same relationship with each other as the villains of the previous year, the Paraka, did. Though instead of being a group of former Dark Hunters or evil mercenaries, they were, of course, warlords. So meaning that they were somewhat of a much higher level of importance in the Matori universe, being one of the rulers alongside Madanui. But then when they tried to dethrone him or even allegedly kill him, they were sentenced down to the pit, and they stayed there for 79,000 years. Until the Great Cataclysm, but then their hopes were shattered when Marinui sank to the bottom due to a great earthquake. And then 1,000 years later, the Toei Nika, which ended up getting turned into the Toamari, came along. Even though it shows this also like the Paraka, how despite being partners with each other, they also happen to be way more rivals. Like how they all want to rule the Matoran universe for themselves. How they turn out to be way more rivals than companions. Very much like the Paraka, due to how even more selfish all 6 of them were. And especially with Takedonks, like how much of a back stabber he is. Even though I myself did actually had a graphic novel which covers storyline for that year, though it kind of stopped there. And also how it was, of course, underwater. Though I do love the setting, and I actually, even though I don't own any of the sets for that year, though I did own a few the McDonald's toys, like say Mad Tax, the Black Rocky, and also Holly Mar, like a couple, being of course miniature models of the actual sets. So, and I did when I was at another person's house one time. I did get to play with one of their children's bionicle sets being Kangumari, so I did have a feel for them. And even though my experience with that set actually wasn't bad at all, even though Maximus and Spinox and also Hydraxon, from what I heard, were actually pretty good. And the Baraki despite Alec having riddle joints, were pretty good from what I actually pretty good from what there's also the Mar. So yeah. So moving on to number 8, 2005. Oh, you probably feel even more angry at me. Well, how even I think 2005 is better than 2007. Though it was, along with the following 4 years, it was kind of hard to tell since I like them almost the same, really. And with this year, I do have one set from this year being Wenua Hordiga right here. Though, even though I decided to get only one of the Toho Hordiga, especially him, due to them, simply because due to them being all one and the same, just like with the foes of the year, the Vizorak, really. Despite having slightly different limbs than each other. Even though, no doubt, they are kind of awesome. Despite how awkwardly designed they were, that's kind of the point. I think of them since they've been mutated. So I mean, what else would you expect him to look? And of course, there was the third Bionicle movie which came out that year, Web of Shadows. And also Metronui, which just got invaded midst of the Tometru defeating Makuta Pterodax and trapping him in crystallized protodermis. And normally it's sort of a soft, sort of a squishy, gooey, silvery, metallic substance, which actually is kind of like mercury. And then there's these two people who worked for him, of course, being the leaders of the two leaders of the Vizirac horde, Rudaka and Sidorak, were the leaders of the horde of the spider-like Rai known as the Vizirac. And many people, of course, refer to it as being the year Bionicle really started to went downhill, as Arcos Marcos stated it, because the dark tone, like I mean, the previous year as well kind of had a dark tone due to how dramatic it was, since now Manui was about to die, and Matoro having to make the sacrifice to grant him life once we back to the main group. And of course, Wenua Hortika being the only side. And there's also the last year with Randy Elliott as the illustrator for all the comics. Bionicle comics. So shortly afterwards, he would have been followed up by Stuart Sager, who someone had a much edgier with his much edgier art style, probably definitely a little too edgy for some, for sure. And I do. And when watching Web of Shadows, despite how disliked the year was, Hi-Fi was alright. Despite how much of a moron in the end Sidorak was, when he was unaware that Rudaka was gonna betray him and end up getting crushed by a being known as Kitang. And now at number 7, 2003? Oh, you must be wondering, why is it only at number 7? Even though I do actually have a couple of sets from that year. No, the next 2 following years I probably like, or the only by a little. So of course, don't get me wrong. Despite it being only at number 7, I still think it was a pretty awesome year for Bionicle. Like how there was this massive giveaway where you get to win prize of a, so I found out, of a metallic silver Kanohi How, which you can put on your favorite Toanuva. And along with it, all 6 Toanuva if you don't have all 6 of them already. And also, and all the other sets. Definitely massive giveaway. And also the infamous Bionicle the game. Yeah, and there's also the course of few more Flash episodes following up from the 2000 2 storyline. Of course, the Balrog Call animations, which I do have one, and I decided to only get one of them. Being, of course, Parakal, the Balrog Call of stuff. Which basically happen to be copies of of normal Balrog, since they're supposed to be like the elite Balrog, which its goal are to reawaken the Balrogs, reawaken the swarms and free the Balrog queens, of course, the chicken or dinosaur-like Barag. And this probably being the only flaw is how it's basically a recopy of normal Balrog except with metallic recoloring, which is why I only decide to get one of them, because getting all 6 of them would even with the normal Balrog would practically be pointless. And also the Chronicle, and also being the collectibles of the year. And of course 2007 being the last year for collectibles, being only green squid and slightly different shades of yellow or orange squid that came with the Baraki or even Karzan. Which, and right here, of course, I have right here is a Kranazan, meaning that's a squad leader, of course. As I looked it up on Bionicle Wiki, trying to figure out which Kran is which. Yet for the fact I still don't remember all of them. Which does seem kind of ridiculous how even their masks have names. And of course, we're still following up the adventures of those 2 Tomatorn, Takua and Zhao. Which I have, which I'll show you later, even though I've already showed you in one of my videos, of course, from a few months ago, of course. So, yeah. And also, there was also the Bionicle Mask of Light movie, being the first full-length film to be based off of a Lego product, where it's following up shortly after the Toanuva got their powers back, which were stolen by the Balrog Hall, and also defeated Nixitayu using the Vahi Mask of Time. And also, it starts off with Jower looking for Takua, who we're gonna add to a Koli match, which is very much like a Cross or Cricket, and I'm sure you see me watch do a reaction video where it's me reacting to that movie. And also, and that's when we were introduced to the second wave of villains for that year. This was being the only time where they released two wave of villains or foes, even though Borok later on would prove that they were really one of the good guys the whole time, and proven to be a bunch of former Matoran like just like Takua, Tamna, Solek, and Photok being the three Amatorn from 2008. Of course, being the Roxy right here being the first set to have to be released with malleable joints. Of course, being knees, yet they don't have elbows. It wouldn't come till a year later with the Toa Matra. And unlike the and before that, all the sets, bionicle sets ever released until that point, of course, with their legs even, they were often released as a single piece. And of course, everyone knows how they clap their feet together to fly. And also contained the second wave of collectibles for that year being the Krata being slug-like Ronnie that controls them. And right here I have Stage 3 Krata. Or Mid-Stage Krata. And also, which you can use, and their lids can be used as slots for them, just like how the Toa Nuva's canisters, of course, had slots for the heads displayed Krata and their Kanois, and also stands for the Toa's tools. And also the Vaki for storing a Kanoka disc. So yeah, I would totally agree with Arcos Marcos on that part. No wonder why they were so awesome. Though either way, and I guess, no doubt, made Bionicle more popular than it already was. Though, as it would have for the next following 3 years. Now, for number 6, 2002. Like, man, despite it being only at number 6 as well, I thought the storyline was pretty awesome. Like how we were introduced to the Borok. And also, it was shortly after the Toamata defeated Makuna. And they end up, and also the Borok had awoken and also, and ended up invading the island and pretty much destroying everything. Only for the Toa to collect all 8 different kinds of Krana, which belong to certain members of the swarm, like, say, surveyors, squad leaders, commanders, and sentinels. And the one that I have being the Borok Irv. Nuvok being the second most dangerous and most powerful out of them. Like how their shields are able to destroy everything. Though unlike most other Borok, they tend to be loners and somewhat, if they were exposed to sunlight, they stopped working, so they basically happened to be the vampires of the swamp. And once they had, ended up collecting, which soon led to the Toa collecting soon led them into the nest and them used them as keys to unlock the door, which led to their exosuits or exotoa to fight the chicken-like Barag. And shortly after they defeated them, ended up falling down the pipes and fall into a pool of energized protodermins and transformed into a stronger Toa Nuva, which I have 3 of them, being Kopakanuva, Pohatu, and Onuanuva, though I have none of the Toamon, especially Pohatu being my favorite out of them, but no doubt Kopaka being the coolest out of them. Who's often been referred to as the Batman by many people as the Batman of Bionicle. And of course, still having the gear function and new limb pieces. Though, if you take off their armor, they still somewhat have this same kind of body plan, just different limbs, of course. The wire way. I still think they were pretty awesome sets. And also the graphic novel, which I have. And I have one from back when, basically collection of all the comics released for each year. Of course, from 2001 up until 2007. The Wire Way. Now, we're to follow. Number 5, we have 2001. The year that began it all, which I have 4 sets. And also, which of course you've seen one of my videos before. And of course, in real life, of course, Lego just recovered from its financial crisis a few years earlier. And it was launched shortly after following up the release of 2 short-lived Lego sub-themes called Robo Slicers and Robo Riders. It didn't seem like it was going to become as successful as it did, being these action figure buildable action figure robots. It seemed like it right went way too far from its roots. But only for it to last the whole decade, especially with highly the highly well received minute online game which I played. And I thought, despite it being a little confusing and not really having anything for me to do in that game or you go in that game, rather than to explore the island and a first insight to this amazing world that I now know and love, though I wouldn't become one till a little bit later, or even be introduced. That many people now know and love, and also sent out in the world, and also definitely know books. And of course, and I haven't really mentioned the books a lot, just like Marcos. And also, there was the Matoran, originally called Tuhunga, though changed to Matoran the following year due to a lawsuit concerning the Maori people of New Zealand's language. Though I wouldn't get too in depth about that. And which I have one of them, of course, being Jao. And like I said before, I have none of the Rahi or Toamada. So here they are. And also the collectibles being their Kanohi mask, which there was all 12 different kinds that came with a bunch of different colors, even 2 colors that would be render use that would end up getting thrown out later on, being teal and purple, being the mask that came with the Taraga and the toe. And of course that arm gimmick, like punching arm, which came with our with those McDonald's Happy Meals, and a throwing arm for throwing the Kanoka disc, which feature all 6 of their respected Toa's mask, including Jawa right here, captain of the guard, who later, along with 5 others, become the Toa Ignika such Toa Mari, and go on to save the Matoran universe. And there was also the Rahi, like the scorpion like Nui Jog. And also the tiger-like, supposedly tiger-like Moakas. And the bull-like Connie Ross. And the lizard-like, when they don't even look anything like lizards, Tarakava. And the mosquito or dragonfly like Nui Ramas. And also the most dangerous out of all the Rahi on the island of Manui, the crab-like Manas. Alright, number 4 we have 2004, being the first year, of course, we were taken to a different location besides Manui. And I do have a couple of sets from that year being Nuju Metru, and of course, the Vaki of Air, Sornak, or maybe Vorzak. And of course, in their canister, they introduced new headphones. And sorry that unfortunately for some reason, I don't know if you can notice that Nuju has a couple of crack sockets, like one the ankle and one in the hand, one of his hands. Though either way, and they introduced a new headpiece, and of course, these guys being the six Taraga Manui, which is how we were first introduced to them, of course. And also now we connect their ends, like now have basically articulate their ends at least with Nuju and Nokama and almost a prediction possible, and their limbs as well. And also can even use the studs as well. And also the thing that always strikes me about the Toametru heads is how they look like that they're about to go scuba diving. For real. Like, just look at it. Like, even more so for the Tomari, even without their mask. And there's also the bot. And also the second bionicle movie, Legends of Metronui, which follows along the adventures of the six Toametru who later become the future Taraga Manui, like I said. Especially Vakama. And the people, even though the problem people had with Vakama as a Toa is how incredibly white he is. Like how he always doubts his skills in leadership, and how he's like, I'll never be a real Toa. I'm just some cross-wired freak who has weird dreams. Even though despite that, and there's also like showing how around the end of the movie how of course Makuta putting Manui into a deep sleep. And also how the Toanuva weren't the first Toa. And of course in 2003 it was revealed how the Matoran, Taraga, and Toa were really, all three of them were the same species. And of course there was the Vaki, having Toamata arms. Being the police force of Metronui. And also those two Dark Hunters, Kraka and Nidiki, who was once a former Toa himself, as it reveals in the one scene between him and Lacan, being the Toa Fire, which is who course, who, which is the Toa whose Jowler's mask, as seen here, once belonged to, and originally, of course, he wore the Kanoe Ko-Mao, or it's the same one that Turaga Onawa, the Turaga Stone, wears, no reticles. And of course, and when watching it the first time at first, I almost mistaken Lakan as being Jowler just grown up. And for some reason, with all four of the Bionicle movies, I like them all almost the same for some reason, because all four of them had a great plot and great characters, except for the fourth one. Like, especially with Kina and Barracks. My God. Like, I mean, like, where do I begin with those two characters? And of course, there's also Kraken from the second one, who Nadigi was partnered up with, who I pretty much, due to his overall intelligence, considered to be like the Patrick Star of Bionicle. Of course. Anyway, now with the third year, like, boy, is it past the 40-minute mark already? Boy, has this been a long video. 2006. Oh, unlike Arcos Marcos, who only put in number 7, and how even 2005 was better than that year. Of course, and this is when I was really first introduced to Bionic, because of one of the miniature models of the actual sets, of course, of Nuparu Ignika, who was an engineer, of course, back on Manui and Metronui, who invented the Vaki, while on Manui during the Swarm's attack from the start, Boraki created the box swords to combat. And the only sin I have, of course, being AVAC, the Paraco Stone, nicknamed a Trick. And of course, it was back in the present now, and everyone's returned to Metronui, but only for Nuju Matoro to find out, as Turaga had been observing that Manui was now dying rather than just simply fast asleep because of Tyrannax. And we were introduced to Paraka and Naika build, being now basically able to bend them in their limbs in any position possible. And also the first time where they, as Arcos Marcos stated, how they started to use weapons now being their Zamor launchers. Like, I mean, there's the Kanokidis launcher from a couple years before, and there were Tuga spinners. And also there's the Paraka, who happen to be way more, being this evil gang of villains. Sorry about that. Who would creep despite being partners, but definitely way more rivals as he stayed due to their own greed and selfishness, like how all 6 of them want the Kanoe Ignika or Mask of Life for themselves. And also the Titans from what I heard were pretty good, being Vizon and Fenrak. And also Bertaka and Axon, and also, and there's of course one of the oddballs ball bionicle sets, the two oddball bionicle sets, Ernak being that monstrous entity in Skadi, the Paraka species mythology, and Umbra, one of the guardians for the Mask of Life, the Ignite. And of course, and there's also how they were Paraka were so powerful they took on the Tonuva with ease, and shortly after they enslaved mostly Matoran except for 6, Balta and Garon, Folika revealed, which would later reveal to be a great being in disguise as a Pomatoran or a Horn of Stone, Delu, Kazi, and Pyrak, which basically, and of course, who somewhat look like miniature versions of the Toa Matchroot horse. Only for the Toa Nika to come and free the Matoran, and of course, and were some, while the Toa Nuva got their butts kicked by them, they were able to take on the Paraka with ease by using cunning instead of brute force. And also met up with Vizon and defeated him as well and retrieved the mask, only for it to fly away and end up down underwater near a sunken, forgotten city called Marinu. And now for number 2, 2008, being referred to as the climax. And of course, this year, which has often been referred to as the climax year for Bionicle, since the original team of Toa the Toa/Nuva were back. And they are now in the correlated universe card, the new. And it's also been referred to as I would probably refer to it as being, and probably by many people refer to it at least as being the last good year for Bionicle. And they also face up against all the other members of the Rare Maku, and that's when we learned how the main villain, Bionicle Maku's real name was Pterodax. And how one of them worked down below in the swamps, being Tahu, Gali, and Onua, the 3 I have, though they've since been taken apart a while ago, while the other half being the ones I've always wanted. The Fantoka, which worked up in the skies, being Liwa, Pohatsu, and Kopak. And also the Light Matoran as well, and also learn about how they became Borok when they died, and how they were really the good guys as Arcus Marcus stayed. And also at the end of the Mystique clip, how Ma knew he was finally awakened and revealed to be a giant robot the whole time. And the Matoran universe was inside him the whole time. And how really, basically, those Toa canisters were nothing more than a bunch of medicine pills. It's mostly based off of the struggles the person behind it, Christian Faber, was going through when he was, of course, at one point diagnosed with a brain tumor. And also, this was the year where now line joint pieces, Even though from 4 years earlier there was one set that I showed you, New Geometry, which had a couple of cracked sockets for some reason. Unlike all my other sets, even AVAC, were now not only just line joint pieces, but all pieces regardless of what color it was, due to redesigned lens, especially Vizirac Vi pieces, and Matru and Vaki Vis as well. And even Toamotive, where all of them were prone to breaking easily. Which is why later on, a few years later, why we got stuck with CCBS with the Hero Factory 2.0 wave. And then there's Manui Spirit, who was kicked out of his own robotic body by Pterodax, who soon took over. Shortly afterwards, the Toanuva, Mari, and Haga would let her go to try to rebel, was kicked out in the form the Mask of Life, which was featured by Uncle Legend Reborn, of course. Now for number 1, 2009. What? You would be thinking, that's an outrage. Why is 2009 at number 1? Yes, I do get it. Besides, I do get this is the year many people think, even Arcos Marcus thinks, that Bionicle was at its worst, like how we were on a different planet altogether, and the 4th Bionicle movie, where we went from being on a planet with these islands on a watery planet to being on some generic desert planet. And of course, Manu, introduced to Manu, who took it, who, and of course, the Mask of Life transformed it into his Glatorian-like form. Even though, while many people hated this year for being its last full year since it would get canceled the following year, I honestly thought was kind of a great year for me, since this was the year I had the most sets. Even though they've all since been taken apart a while ago, and how even more brittle they were. And one of them being Manui himself, and even Tarnak as well. And also before that, the year before that, I only had 4 sets. Then all of a sudden, with the following year, I started to get a whole bunch of them. And also Manu. And even though we didn't even know who he was before that, though I guess it was kind of nice to see him learn what it's like to have a body, and also what it's like to make decisions and mistakes, and learn the ways of Barra Magna and help free the planet from the Skrull after defeating Tuma. And then later the following year, discovery of another prototype robot, which he then controlled to combat Pterodax, who who arrived and who had stolen his original body, and then later won by smashing Pterodactyl's head into a chunk of Aqua Magna and rejoin the three chunks of what was once Spirits Magna and make it home once more, fulfilling his destiny. So definitely, despite being a great spirit, being the one that all beings in the Matoran universe looked up to, definitely some major character growth for him. Though either way, how would you rank all 10 of these years? And boy, was this a long video. Though as usual, leave a like, thanks for watching, and subscribe to watch more content like channel every day. And I'll see you all tomorrow with a much shorter video. And I didn't even know it was even gonna be this long to begin with, but from now on, bye.